Welcome to episode 6 of the B8 Big Turbo build series. In this episode, we're putting the engine back in the car. So before we do anything with the engine into the car, I'm going to clean up the engine bay just a little bit more. It's gotten quite dusty over the last couple months, and I mean, since it was made in 2011, it's kind of musty under there. So I'm going to give it just a little wipe down, nothing crazy. Yeah.
At this point, all I have left to install before putting the engine into the car is the rear main seal and the flex plate. Small piece of advice, don't reuse your rear main seal, even if it is aftermarket. This sort of bit me in the ass later down the road, so take it from me, always use a new rear main seal. But now the engine is all prepped and ready to go in, for the first time. Which takes quite a bit of manhandling on my part. It's probably easy to tell from this, but installing an engine should really be a two-person job. However, as far as engine installations go, this car is pretty simple. Having a longitudinal engine configuration and a removable front end makes it about as easy as it can get. Except for that f***ing starter. If you've ever had to replace a starter on a V8, you'll understand. Unfortunately, while disassembling the engine, I accidentally dropped the factory cam adjuster magnet, so I'm replacing it with the newer revised unit, which requires some repinning of the connector, but that was actually pretty simple. And aside from that, just about everything goes back together how it should.
So I'm almost done buttoning up the front, but unfortunately when I was taking apart the car, I snapped one of the bolts on the air conditioning lines. So I think it looks like it just goes through all the way to the other side, so I'm just gonna drill all the way through and then, I don't know, maybe just put a bolt and a nut through it and see if that works. I don't really need air conditioning right now, but I'm not about to take AC out of a somewhat luxury car. So here we go. Damn it. New plan. I've broken 3 drill bits trying to get this out. So I think I'm better off just buying a new line, because this is just the one that goes from the condenser to the compressor. So for now, since it's going to be winter, I'm putting this together with a hose clamp. And then next year, I'm just gonna get a new line, because this is stupid. It's wasting time. So AC systems can go love themselves. Alright, it is a new day. I finished up just about everything really late last night. But I think everything is ready. So today's either going to be a really good day or a really shitty day. But yeah, I just have to get fluids in there. Got to put oil in there, obviously. I feel like there are people out there who have built a motor, gone to start it, and forgot to put oil in it, because like I could totally see myself doing that. So I'm going to do that now, put some oil in it, put an oil filter on it, coolant, and then my power steering is empty because when I had to take the hood off and whatever. But yeah.
One thing you're almost guaranteed to find right after installing an engine is all of the lines and gaskets you forgot to connect and seal up, leaving you to chase down all kinds of leaks.
Now where?
In my case, I've forgotten to reconnect a turbo coolant feed line to the engine block, which of course runs under the turbo manifold.
Oh, damn it. What, you get one? It didn't tighten one.
So after about 2 more hours of work, I can fill up the rest of the fluids and get ready to prime the engine.
We're gonna try the old air in the dipstick method. He's gonna push air down the dipstick, I'm gonna crank. There's no spark, there's no fuel, just moving the engine over with the starter should prime the oil pump.
Right now, I'm beginning to realize something has gone wrong. No matter how many times I try, the engine just cranks, sputters, and gives up. I've checked every connector, every line, frantically searched through forums, still nothing.
So we haven't had that much luck. I don't know. Give it another try. So the main problem right now is it'll crank, but that's it. So running codes, running into trouble with my battery being almost dead, so I'm running my other car with jumper cables on it. So yeah, it's pulling a lot of codes. I cleared a lot, and a lot of codes were actually just because of the battery dying, so that's good. But yeah, trying to get down to the bottom of what's not communicating and why isn't it going, because it should have fuel. I feel like we dumped too much fuel before. So I don't know. Oxygen sensor. That's it. I'm quite surprised, actually. So let's clear all these. So, I don't know. I'm just. Why wouldn't there be fault codes for stuff not working? Maybe. I don't know. A lot of thinking to do. Alright, another new day. Still haven't gotten the car started. Um, you know how people say if you want something done right, you gotta do it twice? People don't say that, but I have to do that all the time when working on my car. Turns out, I'm an idiot, and a viewer of the last episode, it just went up today, thankfully pointed out that I had put assembly lube where I shouldn't have. So I guess there's a huge oversight on my part, and I am an idiot. But I put assembly lube on the back of the main and rod bearings, and apparently that's a no-no, which makes sense because you don't want that to spin. You want the other side. You want the crankshaft to spin on the other side of it. The other side, the back side, you want to be dry. So I'm gonna take it apart and mess with those bearings, dry off the back, clean it up, put it back together. But I'm not gonna bore you with that because you've already seen me do it once. So let's just cut to me getting the engine out now. So the engine's out, and you ever have one of those times where you feel like the biggest idiot ever? So I may have figured out why the car wasn't starting in the first place. I mean, I guess it's a blessing in disguise that I had to take the engine out again, because I found something that could have been a massive issue and could have basically ruined my brand new engine. Let's hope that it didn't already. But, so, you know how when you like disconnect intercooler couplers and let's say you take an intercooler off and you have to wait a couple days to put a new one on. What do? You put something in the pipe to keep from anything getting in there. Any dust, debris, animals. Right. So I did that. I do that all the time. I'll put a rag in there. Well, on one side of my intercooler, I put a paper towel rag. And I thought I got all of them out. Turns out I didn't. This, oh wow, I am bleeding a lot. I'll address that later. This was inside, it was right up against my throttle body. So I took off my charge pipe, and this came out. But I think this was all of it, because luckily the IE intake manifold has that plate on the top. So I took that off, looked in there, nothing in there. I've also looked in the cylinders, nothing in there. So cross your fingers that nothing got into the engine. But I think this was wedged up against my throttle body, keeping it from opening all the time. Because there were a few times when I would try to start the car and then I could hear the throttle body like just messing up. I figured that was just because like it's been a long time since the car's had power to it, so it was just adjusting itself. But this could have been the entire reason why the car wasn't starting. So it's a damn good thing that I took the engine out today. And thank you to the viewer who mentioned that I needed to take off some of that assembly lube, because I would have never thought to take off those intake pipes. And yeah, an engine needs fuel, spark, and air. Clearly was not getting air. So anyway, I'll stop exposing myself so much. Let's see if I can get the engine apart and back together in a little bit. So yeah, let's cut to that now. Alright, it's been a couple of days. As everything goes, it took a little longer to do this than I thought, but engine's back in the car. Long story short, it's a good thing that I took the engine out, because there wasn't just the one problem of the rod bearings and the main bearings being lubed on the back. There were a few other things that I really needed to get to. For one, the trigger wheel, or whatever you call that, on the crankshaft, on my brand new crankshaft that I spent a lot of money on, had a bend in it, and like there's nothing that comes in contact with it. Like I looked at it for a long time, and Evan was here he was looking at it with another set of eyes, and I don't know, there's no indication of something coming into contact with it and bending it, but there was a dent in it. Obviously, if that's going in front of the crank sensor, it's gonna screw with it. And then obviously that's my mistake of leaving a rag in my intake. Which I think that was the big problem, was that was kind of jamming up against the throttle body, not letting any air in. So this might do it. See if the battery's charged. It's filled with fluids. I did put oil in it. Coolant in it. Coolant's gonna go down because it's got to circulate. But please just work. Air compressor. Ah! Almost there. That's what I'm talking about. It runs!
So now, after something like 6 months since I first installed the turbo, I can finally get the car back on the ground and get behind the wheel.
You're probably seeing a lot of smoke. A lot of this stuff sat in the garage and got some moisture on it and whatever, so it's going to be burning that off for a little bit. Plus, like, if you've ever gotten a new exhaust, it smokes for a while, like burning all the like preservative off of it. So probably see that for a little bit. Of you nervous? So basically you don't want to, from like the research I've done for breaking in an engine, you don't want to let it idle for long periods of time. Like what I just did there was just warm up, but you don't want to just let it sit in the driveway for like an hour, as you might think. Like that's probably a good way to breaking an engine, but you actually got to put some load into it. So what I'm gonna do is do 50% throttle for like 10 to 15 seconds. I wrote it down. Shout out to Speed Academy for kind of going through that with their Evo 6. 50% throttle for 5 to 10 seconds. and then let it coast for 30. Reason being, you want to put load on the piston rings to make them seal up with the cylinder walls. All right, so 50% throttle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Lay off for 30. Pretty good. It was a little rocky to start, but I think it's kind of relearning itself right now. Not bad. It feels quick, and according to my temporary boost gauge, it's going like 4 PSI, so this will be fun.
The braking period for this car could not have gone better. It ran like a top the whole time with nothing worse than a minor oil leak. Even though that oil leak eventually led to my removing the engine a third time to reseal the oil pan and the rear main seal, it's quite evident that at least a few things went how they should when assembling this engine. It feels just as healthy as if it were stock. I simply can't describe to you how great it feels to drive this car again, and I cannot wait to see how this car handles some spirited driving. But that'll have to wait until the next episode. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.